Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Wright. This is the ICT Educator Webinar Series. I'm the statewide director of the ICT sector team, and I have a cold. But if you visit our website, you'll see the 10 regional directors that support our team, which includes Nicole Sherman, who produces this series. And we, as I said, was saying before we started the recording, that we're trying to replicate the quality of stuff that you get when you go to a really nice conference right here, so you don't have to do that and save all that money. Just register, pre-register for the webinars, and we'll send you a little reminder note too, which is always helpful in today's busy environment. A lot of people like to register and then watch later. Some people just plain watch later, but every single webinar is completely recorded, edited, chapterized, and transcribed into a document. So you can see the PowerPoint presentation, the relevant links, and get the whole thing. So you can use it, because sometimes people want to use these for grants or their classrooms or whatever, or to inform other people. We want to make sure that you have all of that. We have a lot of those. As you can see, some of the prior webinars right here. These are more related to business information worker and general things. We have another list for IT and cybersecurity. The first one there, BIW cross-disciplinary certificates, it deals with more of the BIW 3 side, where at College of the Deserts they've been able to focus at the level 3 with legal, medical, and hospitality. So it takes these early skill sets that Karen's going to talk about in a second, and then starts to blend them, branch the tree, so to speak, into different disciplines, and it's very customized to that region. And so you should see that one too. But today we're talking about Karen, and Nicole just showed you a couple more webinars. We've got a really nice one coming up December 6th. That's with Burning Glass, talking about their research survey they did on IT. 80% of IT jobs are in hybrid industry. So who would have thought? That's going to be a good one. And today we have Karen O'Connor, who I refer to her as the BIW International Evangelist. She literally goes around the world and the country in different organizations talking about the Business Information Worker program, which she saw what we were doing, and which she was able to integrate it into the academic Senate processes and the DIG processes and all this, whatever, get CID courses, and did some really wonderful innovations, particularly with the Quick Start program. And now we're going to hear a little bit more about the dual enrollment and how that's working, which we always assumed would be a sweet spot of the Business Information Worker program. I'm going to let you take it away now, Karen, before I go on a coughing fit.
Okay, thank you, Steve. And I just want to check and see if we have Mark. Is Mark?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, good. Good. Glad you're here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start out by talking a little bit just about the background of the program and how we got to where we're at, and then Mark.
Yeah. You share your screen too?
Oh, yeah, share the screen. There we go.
Sorry.
It's okay. Let's hope I got it here. There we go. Can you see that now? Nope. Now.
Now we're, yeah, here it is. Yes, send now.
Are you seeing the single page? I don't see the green arrow on it.
We're seeing the title page.
Oh, good, good, good. Okay. Yeah, so here we go. Mark's gonna support this too, because I'm the college side of the equation and he's the high school side of the equation, and we've been working together for a while now. So some of you have heard of the BIW program, or the Business Office Technology program. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history. So basically, I moved to California 15 years ago, and I discovered that there's 114 colleges teaching business office technology type program, but everybody was doing something different. So we're going to talk about where we began, what did we do, where are we now, how dual enrollment's working for us, and how you could be part of it. So we're all inventing our own wheel for this program. And because the skills that we need for the Business Office Technology Business Information Worker program have been around for a long time, and they've evolved for a long time. Everybody was doing their own thing. So basically the California Senate started the transfer model concept for programs that you would take students would take to get their first 2 years and be ready for acceptance to a university. And most of you have heard of the transfer model program. When they finished with all the transfer courses, they started asking the program that weren't specifically for transfer, but just for model curriculum, the program areas, if we wanted to have a model curriculum or not. And that's a really big question. Do we want to have a model curriculum for business information worker? Well, this is part of a much bigger presentation that I give about that, but I'm skipping right to the part where we decided we wanted it. We spent 2 years working on it, all volunteers having the discussion. What do we want our model to look like for business office technology? And there was 22 courses and 3 certificates that we came up with. It's not brand new, but it just so happened that Steve Wright and the ICT group had developed this concept of the business information worker, and it was a concept. It wasn't a set of courses, but it was an idea that people could they could apply to this site and say, okay, so we're offering these courses. Our program looks similar to what you've come up with. And most of you have heard about that. If anybody hasn't heard about that, about what Steve did when he pulled the 400 employers in the state and asked them what they wanted for skills in their entry-level people, Steve came up with the Business Information Worker Program. So I've jumped a couple of years here to this slide that says crosswalk, because basically what happened is that those of us on the community college side that were working on the model curriculum, we talked to Steve on the concept side with the business information worker, and instead of sending all of our curriculum up to the state without having that conversation, we had a conversation with Steve and made a crosswalk. What did Steve come up with when he was talking to his 400 people, employers across the state, to find out what they wanted in their entry-level people? And I think this is really important to understand, that this didn't come out of, one person's mind. This is an evolution. This program is an evolution on 2 sides of the equation. On the employer needs side of the equation, from the big picture in the state, and it's also from the feedback that all of us at each community college have had over years with our local advisory groups. The message was the same, but how do you get on the same page? Well, this is making a long story short right here, but we did get on the same page. And I'm going to show you what that looks like if you don't know what it looks like already. But when you go into any room of employers and ask, what do you want your entry-level people to have? You get the same answers. You want them to be able to write a sentence. You want them to be able to communicate. And they want them to be able to do the skills of today, the keyboarding, the Excel, the Word, the PowerPoint, the Access, the bookkeeping, the QuickBooks, the business math, all of that. They might not know, they might not articulate that they want business math, but they want them to be able to do accounting, and they want them to be able to do Excel equations and understand that, and to be able to think in terms of what you need to know for business and calculating percentages and interest and that kind of thing. So, and it's actually the business math that made me call Steve, because his model didn't have explicitly stated the math part, and our model did, and we came to a meeting of the minds about that. So I'm making a long story short, because this is about dual enrollment, but there was an evolution of a program that had been around for decades, that has been evolving, and it met with what today's employer wants their people to have by way of entry-level skills. And a lot of there's a lot of people out there that think that students come out of high school with this already. But as we know, the business courses have been eliminated a lot of times from the high schools. It hasn't been there. But so I don't know how the students are supposed to get it just while they're texting their friends after school or whatever. But anyway, so we managed to get on the same page. It took about 2 or 3 years. And so basically what we have, and I'm sorry this slide is a little bit, like there's a lot of information on this slide, but what shows here is we've got a 3-level plan. We've got a 12-unit certificate that includes courses, and you can get all of the descriptors for these courses that we came up with. I've sent them to Nicole. They can be distributed, but you can also get them online, and I'll show you where to get them. But basically, there's a introduction to business information worker gateway course, and you can call that whatever you want. Some people don't like the word worker. You can call the course whatever you want, but basically, if you don't have a gateway class, you're not gonna gather the people like you'd like to do to get them into the program. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that particular course in a minute, because it made a huge difference at Cerro Coso Community College when we started offering the gateway class, and not just, you know, trying to gather people from random points in the program, but to actually have a gateway class. It made a huge difference to our retention. But so computer literacy, Microsoft Outlook, Keyboarding 1, Word 1, Excel 1, PowerPoint, and Practical Math for Business and Consumers. It constitutes the first 12 units, and that's the part that we're doing mostly in dual enrollment. And I'm going to take a breath here and let you guys out. I can't see if there's questions so far. Is there questions?
Yeah, there was a question. Go ahead, speak up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Mark. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have a question. Why do you have Outlook on there instead of Access?
Oh, Mark, is because our program is changing to Outlook. Okay, so Mark's talking about, because he's been offering what Cerro Coso already had, the 12-unit certificate, and it includes Access, not Outlook. But when we did the state model, feedback came back that Outlook was more desired than Access at that first level. So we bumped Access to the second one, and that's the Cerro Coso program doesn't reflect that yet. That's why you still have Access.
Okay. Yeah, that's some of the business feedback. Outlook is, if you're only going to take one course to get a job, take Outlook.
Yeah, so we bumped that, and then we actually added Access into the second, Access 1 and 2 into the second. There's tiny differences, and we're evolving that, but basically this model is what we had at Cerro Coso, basically, and it was compiled from a lot of feedback from a lot of different places to get to the point where it was when we re-evolved it with the state concept. So then there's a second level where people can basically take the intermediate level and add in communication, and like more intensive communication, because you'll see that there is communication in this intro to business information worker as well. And then we're adding in the accounting with QuickBooks in the second level. And that was another discussion that we used to have. The accounting course, we didn't necessarily have a QuickBooks course. Some places did, some places didn't. And now we're just making sure that we're using QuickBooks as part of teaching accounting, because you can't really go in and use do accounting without having, or use QuickBooks without having an understanding of accounting. Well, you can, but you can really mess things up. So, I mean, we could talk about every single one of these, what's called a descriptor, but and certainly anybody can contact me with questions after, but just to give you the general overview, we've got the 12-unit certificate, then we've got the 18-unit certificate, and then we've got the 30-unit certificate, and students, of course, can work towards a degree.
We have a question. What does the Intro to Business Information Worker contain? Do you have a?
Yeah, I think I have that. I have that in the next slide. Hang on a sec. I'm almost there. So this is the example. This page shows what the descriptors are, and then the names of them. And then on the other side of the page is what a descriptor looks like. So people can build their syllabi from the descriptor. So there's a course description, there's what's included in the content, what kind of prerequisite or advisory is advised, what are the course objectives, what are the means, you know, everybody that's worked with curriculum knows what these elements are. We've created the descriptors for each one of these, and they're available publicly for everyone to get. And I think the next slide might be the answer to the question. Hang on, let me go. I'll go, it's a little out of order, but I'll go back. So this is the answer. So the Introduction to Business Information Worker basically has 3 parts to it. Your one part of the course is to let people know what they're getting into in the field of business information and what employers are looking for. So, so that they, when I offer this course, they go in and they go to job search set websites and they look at what employers are asking for and what kind of pay they might get. And there's a lot of kind of controversy because the names are changing of the jobs. These skills are integrated into so many different kinds of jobs nowadays that it isn't always recognizable specifically. Like, you know, it's not maybe just a clerk position or a secretary or whatever we used to call these things. That the things that people are looking for, the names that they're looking for, are evolving all the time to where these skills are used. I mean, we use the skills in this program in our jobs. All of us do. I mean, I'd be surprised if any of us didn't, right? We maybe don't use them all, but we use a lot of them. So that's a third of the outcome for that gateway course, is just kind of looking at what that field is. And people are so surprised when they do, and they're so happy to find something that will work for them, I find. The second part of the program or the course is just to let them know what the program's about. So this is more than a little thing, because students can get in there, they have to meet with a counselor, they have to write what their plan is, they have to look at what they have to become familiar with what the program is so that they can make an informed personal decision about whether it's the right thing for them. And since we started doing that in this course, I'm the chair of a department with many different programs. We've started doing this in most of our programs, you know, where it's paralegal or cybersecurity or whatever the program is, a web professional. So we're helping educate people as to what they're getting into at the beginning of a program, so they know how to plan ahead and whether that's the right thing for them. So that has a big impact, I think, on whether they stick with it. And then the last part of this first course is to give them a beginning, so not really like a full-fledged business English course, but it's a little bit of a start. And we use a book called The Handbook for Office Workers. And all the time, from all walks of life, I get this response from people: where has this book been all my life? It's an amazing, amazing resource. So, but the main thing is that you can't teach a course in every single topic that people want, because you have a thing called credit creep, right? Like, you can't have a program that takes 100 units to graduate from. So instead, we try to find all the things that are important to employers and apply them across the courses, so that they're interwoven into all the content. And so we start them off on the right foot, letting them know it matters to the employer how they communicate. It matters how they write a sentence. And we're not going to all be perfect at it at all, but if you know that it matters, that increases their ability just by that awareness, a huge amount. And we apply this writing through all the courses in the program and problem solving. So you'll see that as an outcome for many of the courses, problem solving and communication. So that's what the first, what the first part of that course is about. They also, oh, this, I'm sorry, this slide kind of, this shouldn't be in here because this is, oh, I guess it's okay because really there's a gateway course, Introduction to Business Information Work, and then there's a capstone course that is the Business Information Professional, and there's actually 2 slides that describe it. But in that, it's like a bookend for the program. They start with this one, then they go do all this stuff, and then they cap it off with this other one. It's like the other bookend to the beginning course that they took. So I'm going to back up here a bit because I missed some things. So I wanted to answer your question. And so let me just say that I developed that course 5 or 6 years ago at Cerro Coso. And since then, our enrollment has grown significantly. And it's still growing. It's booming, really, in my opinion. And so basically, you always get people dropping in for Word or Excel or maybe keyboarding or bookkeeping. You get people dropping in for single courses. And, you know, if they like Excel, they might take all 3 levels, but they didn't really look at the program before. It was kind of dependent on whether I, you know, got to talk to them personally to get them into it. And so we needed the gateway course for that. And so that's important. And so I already talked about these are the courses that are included. I'm going to skip through this. Then again, this is the 12-unit certificate. Then we add workplace communication and intro to accounting to make the 18-unit certificate plus the intermediate courses. So there you go. Then here's what you get. All of it together pretty much is the 30-unit certificate. Okay, so that's the history of the program. And if you go to this site, www.cid.net, descriptors final, really all you have to do is Google CID California and you'll get the whole website come up. And you can just click on descriptors. You can get the descriptors for all of these courses and all of the other courses too that have been developed in the state. You can get them all there. So that's really cool. It's all there for anybody to use. So now, we get this all done, and you know, one of the big problems in my mind over the years that I've seen is that we've lost our business classes in the high schools. And so dual enrollment, the idea came forward. I'm not sure where it started, Mark, but Mark and I were, and also Chris had basically, Tehachapi High School and Cal City High School were approached to do dual enrollment for the first 12 units of this program. And I knew Chris through CBA. That's something I'll talk to you about after, the California Business Education Association. Chris was a member and Mark became a member, and both of them had taught dual enrollment. Chris had retired, but both of these people were nominated for Teacher of the Year through California Business Education for their excellent work in the dual enrollment program with Cerro Coso. And because the high school teachers give a lot when they do this. It's got to be something that they really want to do, or it's not going to happen. That's been my opinion, my experience with it. So this is where I'm going to let Mark come in, but Mark, I have a slide up here and I'm talking about the enrollment opportunities for students, and he has juniors and seniors that participate for 2 years in the program. They can gain access to their workplace skills, the CTE skills that they wouldn't otherwise get at a, you know, I don't know if it's a remote high school, you know, out in the middle of the desert, and they can get this training, and they can grow their confidence with college level courses. They can launch head onto a college and workplace pathway. They earn secondary and college credit at the same time, and they can work towards industry certifications, because the thing I forgot to mention is that a lot of our courses are designed to, at the outcome, you know, meet Microsoft certification or whatever certifications are out there for industry. So do you want to talk about how it started for you, Mark?
Okay. Kristen Hanley from Saracoso contacted me and put me in touch with Karen. And during the summer of 2016, Karen and I spent a lot of time on the phone working out all the kinks, and we got started in August of 2016. It takes the students 2.5 years to get through the program, or actually they normally do it in 2 years. Most students do the first year in their junior year, the second year in their senior year. And so the first year I didn't have anybody complete the certificate because it was only the first year. But the second year we had, I believe, 4 completers. And the third year we had 6 completers. And this year we have 8 people who are on target to complete. So we keep increasing every year. They do have to earn at least a C in every course. And they take all of the courses from me except for the business math. They take that online directly from Frank Timpone there at Saracoso. So they normally double up their last semester, their 4th semester of the program, and take the final classes from me one period, and at the same time either at home on their own time, or they set aside a period of their school day if they're able to, and take the business math class then. And other students will just take 1 year and get, you know, the 4 or 5 college credits for that 1 year. But some of the students do show a great deal of interest in going on and taking the second year and getting the certificate. So we've had students that have actually participated in Saracoso's graduation, and they always find that quite exciting to be graduating from college before they graduate from high school. So
Mark, can you, I should have put a slide in about this, but can you tell them the order you offer the classes in? Like which one's the first semester and which the second?
Well, typically the order is, it's been changed around a little bit. Typically it's computer literacy first, and then basic keyboarding. So those are each 1 quarter. And then the second semester, they take the business office technology, which I guess you've altered the name of that slightly. And then the second year, they take Microsoft Word the first quarter, Microsoft Excel the second quarter, Access the third quarter, and PowerPoint the 4th quarter. And again, that second semester of the second year, they double up and take business math also.
So, yeah, no, because Mark, because we're looking at the state curriculum, and the curriculum at Saracoso is just going through to be updated to these names. It's just going through now. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about how the opportunities for faculty in what it's meant for, you know, the practical end of it for Mark and I. So basically, I teach those courses at the college. Mark teaches those courses at the high school. The idea is that he's offering exactly the same thing. It's not a, you know, it's the same course, basically, with the same outcomes and the same materials, pretty much. I mean, we used a different keyboarding book, but so I share the curriculum with him. I share my syllabus. I share my online courses. He doesn't have to use it, the online course I've got exactly, but he could use he could, in some cases, he might have used the Canvas course that I've developed that I'm actually using to teach online. He could use that. There's a little bit of, there's, in the next slide that you can't see yet, is about the little bit of challenges, because Mark, you have students that are taking the course that aren't enrolled in the dual enrollment part, I think.
That's correct. Some of them, they can't take the dual enrollment because they're not allowed to take more than 11 credits, and they're already at their 11 without that class.
So then
they-
that made it tricky, because if he's using my online course, then as part of the college system, then the students that are enrolled in the dual enrollment are listed in that, but the students who aren't enrolled in the dual enrollment don't have access to that. So that's made, I mean, it's been a benefit for him to have all my materials, but there's challenges, because it's like you're in another country.
Right.
So I'm going to come back to that in a second. So we share curriculum, we share strategies, we share I share the online courses, and any technology like the skills assessment management from Cengage and that sort of thing. His students get access to that. We benefit from having our shared professional development, and we do that partly through California Business Education Association, but we also just do it between ourselves. And we get to be part of, actually, you know, all this talk, you know, pathways is a word around the state that means a million different things. We get to actually be part of helping students make that progression from high school to college, and it's really exciting to be able to do that. But it's not all just smooth. Like, you can't just say, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to plunk it in like it's another class from the college side, like it's another class that we offered somewhere else, because we're working with two completely different systems. And this is the thing that, in order to make this happen the very first summer, it boiled down to Mark and I and Chris and I making it happen, because I think about 5 or 6 times we both thought, oh, this isn't going to work. And then we stuck with it, because really there's a lot of little challenges. Like, really, I think it's harder for the high school teacher, because they have to learn a whole different system of when do the semesters begin and end. You know, even we're talking book reps, like, oh no, we can't have the same book rep because my guy's a college guy and his guy's a high school guy. And so there might not, you know, there can be all sorts of different sort of hiccups with getting the right materials in the right way for the right price, because you're not talking to the same people. And it's two different communication systems. Like, so it was a good thing that we knew each other and we talked to each other, Mark and I, because if you're waiting for all of the information that the actual teachers need to share to make this happen, that's not going to filter through all the different layers of administration and other people that have an interest in making this happen, because they're not going to get it from the same you know, perspective. And so we talked directly, and there would be things all the time, well, I thought this because I heard this through my whatever person, and he thought that because his principal or his other person. The things that matter to all these different levels are different. So in my opinion, if the teachers don't talk to each other, it's going to be really hard to make it happen, and you're not going to get the same quality. So I think that, and I, you know, I probably shouldn't say, but I don't think Mark gets paid an extra penny for doing any of this. He does it out of his own heart, that he wants to do this as part of his job, because he wants the best for his students. And so to me, like, and Cerro Coso has hired a dual enrollment person now that actually oversees it all, because there's a lot of overhead with it. And she would have liked to have been on the call today. She's at a conference, and I think it would have been really nice to hear her perspective on how this works as well. Like, what from the administrator's side do you need to do to make this work? What kinds of agreements do you need to make it work? And in the very beginning, I don't remember if I have a slide about this next, but so I'll just go back for a second. In the very beginning, I actually created a form of all the things that you should do ahead of time, 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead. Like, you really need a checklist, and it needs to include having the teachers talk to each other and talking to the book reps and all these things that are totally different, you know, and because the college has, you know, rules about when do students have to register for class, and when do they need to be dropped if they're not participating, and when is the census day, and all, when do the grades have to be submitted, and all of these things are different from how it works in the high school system. So I really feel like the person at the high school end has to be, you know, has to do double duty on a lot of those things for not necessarily any extra remuneration for it. I think when we've talked about this at CBA, some districts it's done differently, but all I know is in our district, it's been an amazing thing to see the end result. And I can't believe that we've been doing this for over 3 years now. When I'm sitting at grad and the students walk across the stage and they read the little card and they say, what do you want to do when you're done? And they say, we want to go to college. And that always turns a few heads in the crowd because they don't realize that we've given these high school students this amazing opportunity to prove they can do it and get a head start right in high school. And it's worth all the extra effort. And it can be done. And that's why we wanted to talk to you about it today.
I was gone for just a minute. I'm back.
That's Mark, who's actually teaching a class right now. But no, Mark, I was just saying how awesome it is when the students walk across the stage and say,
right,
you know, when they ask them on the little card what they're going to do now that they're finished college, well, they say, well, we want to go to college because they've
right.
had this amazing opportunity. So what other questions do we have about the dual enrollment part that people would like to hear from? What do you see as obstacles, or are you thinking of doing it out there? I can't see the questions.
We have on the chat line, we have some questions. Mallory Stevens asked, I think it's had to do with the high school online. What supports do you put in place for students during the online courses? Do you act as a support teacher for them? Is this under a CCAP agreement?
CCAP agreement, AB 288.
He asking, Mark might have gone, I'm not sure, or he might be helping a student.
No, I'm here.
Oh, Mark actually teaches the classes. He doesn't teach it online in the classroom. He's actually.
You said that you were that students were enrolled in the online math class.
Oh,
right.
And
so
I'm wondering if there are any supports during their high school day or a support teacher during the high school day that can help them acclimate to that, because the first time I teach in computer business office technology, but I am also creating our dual enrollment program at Cabrillo. And I teach online, and it's a stretch for new college students because it's a second set of skills in addition to college skills. And so I wondered if you did any additional supports or preparation for students around online learning specifically.
Yeah, first of all, I make sure that they completely understand that they have to get online. There's a deadline that they have to get online. If they don't get online by that deadline, they're going to get dropped. Make sure that they know how to get online. Make sure that they understand that they have to do something, that they have deadlines, like usually it's like every Sunday. And if they go more than 2 weeks without getting online, they get dropped from the class. You know, I sort of mentor them and constantly remind them of this stuff, because being high school students, they're not used to that.
Being college students, they're often not used to it too. So that really is a real step ahead. I'm glad. I'm very, very glad to hear that. I was hoping that would be the answer, but
okay. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, are you working with a college and career access pathway partnership agreement to offer these classes?
Yes, I believe there is a signed agreement, isn't there, Karen?
Yeah, there is. And that's the part I'm not really sure, like after the beginning, this all happened in the background. We just got the end result. I know there is an agreement. I'm not
So
sure of the
CCAP
details of it.
agreements would allow you to offer classes during the day. It would mean that high school students would not need to pay for their textbooks. It also raises the unit cap from 11 to 15. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, and that made me think of something, and I don't know, at least at the beginning, the courses had to be open to outside students if other people wanted to come in.
So that would make it traditional dual enrollment. Non-CCAP can have closed sections as long as they're on the high school campus.
But I'm not sure, Mark, have you ever had an outside student come in?
Yes, I have one in the room right now, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So do they get help with their books, or do they have to buy their own book? And
I have enough books that they don't need to buy a book.
right. So that's kind of cool. Is that the first time you've had somebody from outside?
This is the second time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't get a lot, but I
Did
get
your
some
administration
that
have
sign
any-
up, and when they realize that they have to come here for it and stuff, they drop. But this is the second one that I've had actually go through with it.
Did your administration have any concerns about having non-registered students in your classroom?
No, because we have several teachers that are doing dual enrollment, and so we have college students on campus all the time.
So Mark, what other courses are there being offered dual enrollment now besides this one?
There's English, math, science, U.S. history. Denise could probably answer that question better than I can, but there's quite a few. There might be music, I think.
So if those have grown from, is that all Saracoso? So that's grown.
All Saracoso, yes.
Wow, that's great. So yeah, so I'm just going to show you, here's where, by the way, if you haven't presented your courses if you have business information worker or business office technology courses at your college, you can present them to be approved for the CID. That was the other side of the model curriculum. So if you can do that, there's a place where they can be, if you didn't know about that, here's the link. So I'm actually reviewing courses for the state to see if they match up with our curriculum. And there's maybe 10 colleges that have come through putting their curriculum through, and sometimes their old curriculum works, and sometimes they're developing new curriculum. So I just wanted to give you that little piece of information if you want to have your CIDs approved, so that does everybody understand what that means, the CID course numbering? Because I can explain it if you don't. I think probably most people do. The common course numbering behind the scenes. Okay. So, and then I want to also point out that a lot of the synergy for all of this, for my discussions with Steve, for my discussions with Mark, and all this, where all the inspiration came from for us to talk about this and make it happen is partly from the California Business Education Association. And we have a group, it's more than 80 years old in the state. We're having a conference in February. We usually have a conference every year in November, but this year we're also joined up with the Western Business Education Association. And it's going to be down at the Torrance Redondo Beach Marriott in the middle of February. And all of you that are out there on the line, if you're interested in business education and what we're talking about today, we would love for you to be members of CBA. We really, it's hard to connect with people to get members, but it's a strong organization. A lot of good stuff has come out of discussions that we've had. And we'd like to have you as members, and we'd like to have you come to our conference. And every conference we have, there's a session on business information worker, and we'll probably have one about dual enrollment at the next one. And we like to honor people that are, like Mark got an award, Teacher of the Year. Chris got an award, Teacher of the Year, for their work. We're always looking to recognize people for their good work around the state, but if we don't know who you are, we can't recognize you. So I just want to tell you that you can go to www.cbaonline.org and find the conference link. And you know, our conference starts on a Friday, and because we're hooked up with the Western Business Education, there's people coming from around the state. We start with tours. That conference fee includes a tour. It starts on Valentine's Day, so the first tour is a chocolate factory to learn about how this family chocolate business runs. And we're also meeting with the CEO of the Del Amo Mall in the third largest shopping center in the United States. It's in Torrance. We're going to meet with the CEO of that and have lunch and find out how they organize the marketing for the mall and what they're looking for in their massive employees system for the mall. And we're also going to a brewery to hear about how they started a business 20 years ago. And you know, so there's tours, there's sessions, there's keynotes, there's all kinds of amazing things at this conference, and we'd love to see you there. And if there's more questions, I'd love, are there any more questions about the dual enrollment side? Or
I saw a question from Heather Rahman earlier when you were mentioning your checklist, and she said she'd like to get her hands on that checklist.
Yeah, I looked for it last night, and I know I can find it. And
well, we can post it on the website. For those of you out there who want to share what's going on here today, this is recorded, chapterized, transcripted, and then all the links and documents that Karen's been referring to will be on our website, and you'll get a notice when they're available, so you can share that with your other folks and friends. I do want to support Karen's request that you consider the CBEA conference in February. I found it to be a very useful group. I was somewhat astounded coming from the outside and working with the community college system as I have now for 8 years, that the whole office systems technology portion of our disciplines, it doesn't take a much higher profile in the minds and hearts of all our leadership. When I got started on the business information worker, it was accidental. We were chartered with finding digital media skills that were in demand by businesses. And so we went to advisory groups and we said, what do you think about social media? Do you need your employees to be able to do Facebook or do things on the web? And they all looked at us in shock and horror and said, we just want keyboarding and Word and Outlook. And that was the birth of the BIW in our minds, because it was really a matter of just getting back to basics and finding out what we've done. And the work that Karen has done and others has just been phenomenal. In that Quick Start program, I know we're talking about dual enrollment with high school kids here, but it could be anybody out there who's stuck in a career or service occupation where they'd like to get into office or do other things like that. And this is the way. This is the crosswalk for them into a different kind of job. So, and the whole idea of breaking down these courses into one unit or credit courses where people take a bite and move on was really an insight for me. I was just tying the work that we'd done originally with the labor market information and demand for certifications and the skills that businesses said they want. And Karen was able to take that and turn it into, well, how do we nuance that in terms of the people we actually teach? So thank you, Karen. And this foray into dual enrollment is putting it right where it needs to be. Almost everything we look at, whether it's cybersecurity or this or whatever, we're constantly trying to figure out how to get those skills further down to the younger student.
Stefan and Karen, just briefly, again, I know you mentioned this, but I just to hear it again, to be able to find the CID information so I could review it and share this with my division members about that can be found through the CID, or there's a link, right?
Yeah, this is where you can review it, but see the first part, the www.cid.id.net.
Right.
I never remember that. So when I go look for it, I just type in Google CID California, and it comes up with this link.
Okay.
And you can see all the descriptors there for all the programs in the state that have transfer model or model curriculum. So that's pretty awesome. You can see it, you have access to all of it. And you can also submit your work, your courses there. Your articulation officer can, if you want to have them reviewed for equivalency. You know, and I just want to say that what we did, you know, I presented on this topic in a bunch of Western states, in Chicago, and even in Greece this summer. People are very interested because they know that these are skills that are out there and that people need. And usually the response I get is, I thought in the beginning I would get the response of people arguing with, well, no, you don't actually need this, or you might need that. Like, I thought people were going to be more in the weeds about what was included, but they're more surprised that anybody agreed on anything. And so I know that in, I don't know how many years this is going to evolve, but I'm so happy that we have a place to start with it. If we all have a different idea, we're never going to get any kind of you know, common ground. But if we started with this, now we'll see how it evolves over time. We're all, and I'm sure we're going to learn, oh, we emphasize this one thing too much, or we didn't emphasize this other thing enough. But I think we really need to keep the cross course, you know, so we need problem solving. You don't need a course just in problem solving. You need to have that explicitly integrated with every course. And that's the thing that a few years ago I started to integrate problem solving with a grade. And they had to write, what's the problem, what's the solution, what are their resources. They have to write, so they get their writing skills in, they get the problem solving, and they get a grade for it. Because students value, what is meaningful to students is what they get a grade for. If it's just something they don't get a grade for, they don't really care about it. So, and I mean, I'm the same way when I take a class. And I think the other thing to remember is, with all of this, is to meet your students where they are, whether you're teaching online or in a classroom. You know, Steve was right, people come from all walks of life. This is not just only something for high school students, obviously. I've been teaching this program for 36 years now. And I have had people that were, you know, had a PhD or had a bachelor's degree and this or that, or had a completely different career, and they can't, their back is bothering them now. They can't lift somebody, or they can't, whatever, they've changed direction, or they want to start their own business. And I used to have my own business, and I used a lot of these skills in my own business. So people come from all walks of life for this program. And I think it's cool that we have a starting point, and we can evolve it and make it better. I'm sure it's going to change over time, but we have a place to start, and we have a road to go on to move forward with this, and that's pretty exciting.
Is there also a chance to get a copy of your PowerPoint?
Absolutely. Well, isn't the whole thing recorded?
Yes, this is recorded, and we'll have a copy of the PowerPoint on our website, along with, you sent a lot of other documents.
Yeah.
Karen will post those as well. And
Yeah.
and we'll probably the links to the CID net, and as well as the book that everybody wants to get that you talked about.
And please consider joining CBA. I don't know if I can say that, but we love to have the membership. This is the kind of discussion we like to have in that organization, and you're all welcome.
Yeah, and still, I think when you look at the amount of jobs that are open in the state of California for people with the business information worker skill set, it's just bigger than any other category that there is. And I've counseled people who are 55 and got laid off from their job, and they didn't know what to do next. Or I just go down the list of BIW skills and say, do you got this one? Do you have this one? Do you have this one? We get somewhere around QuickBooks or Salesforce.com, and they'd say, well, I know those, but I don't have a certification. I said, well, go online, get it. and they get hired because they could show that they're an old dog who's got new tricks. And so this, I mean, these skill sets are just a reflection of what business is asking for. I think one of the
Yeah.
unique things to me was when they all wanted Outlook. You could take someone off the street. If all they know is Outlook, you can put them on a reception desk and they can start earning money and making appointments and sending stuff out and meeting notices, because organizing meetings is one of the most difficult things that any business does. And so that's why it was the first on our list in terms of what they need to know if they're going to get a job tomorrow. And so we did a lot of that. I did market research for years before I got involved in this. And this is just, the nice thing is with Karen, this is and in Nancy as well, the nice blending of the market perspective and the academic perspective. I do want to call your attention once again to another webinar we have, where the fellow at College of the Desert was able to take the 1 and the 2, business information worker 1 and 2, and then modify the 3 for his local community by going around talking to legal offices and talking to healthcare offices and hospitality offices and saying, what do you need in addition to these skills to hire somebody? And so they've cultivated all that into 3 different business information worker 3 type hybrids. So you can really make this regional or customized to your community. I'll be quiet for a while. Any unanswered questions?
Well, thanks for everyone for hearing our story. It's really a story of what's evolved in the last 3 or 4 years, and we're happy to share it. And thank you, Mark, for being able to come in, because I know you're teaching that class right now.
Oh, no problem. You're welcome. Thank you for including me.
All righty then. Unless there are further questions or anybody wants to have a discussion about dual enrollment, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up right now. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I think we're going to skip a week and come back. What's actually going to be December 6th with a really interesting discussion from Burning Glass on the hybridization of IT skills in just about everything else. All righty. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.